Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk to you about an advanced reader's copy that I received. It's called The Punch Escrow. This book is by Tal M. Klein and it is set to release on July 25th of this year. So coming up very, very soon. The Punch Escrow is a hard science fiction, and admittedly, I don't have a lot of hard science fiction experience. The science fiction that I have read, well, they're very few and far between. So this was an experience for me. However, I have to be honest with you, this book is quite amazing. The book takes place in the year 2147, and it is the story of Joel and Sylvia Beerum, and it centers around something that we've all wished for at one point or another, which is teleportation. Teleportation has been made possible by a company called International Transport, and they've managed to guarantee that teleportation is safe and foolproof because of something they developed called the Punch Escrow. Sylvia Beerum works for International Transport as a scientist. However, her work is strictly confidential. She can't even discuss it with her husband, Joel. Joel is the equivalent in our time of a programmer, so to speak. He's called a salter, and what he does is he tricks computers for money. So the world in 2147 is entirely controlled by apps. Our cars have an app, our rooms have an app, and Joel's job is to make those apps smarter by proving them wrong. He's sort of a self-described slacker, admits to laying around and playing video games a lot and only resorting to salting when he needs money. Joel and Sylvia's marriage is not the best. They've been together a while, and the last year of their lives has been particularly difficult because she's had this very secret job that keeps her out until late at night, and they haven't had a chance to connect. So they decide to take a second honeymoon to Costa Rica, and naturally they are going to teleport there. Sylvia teleports first, and Joel is slightly behind. However, when he steps in for his turn to teleport, something goes horribly wrong. There's a whole group of religious people in 2147 who are very opposed to teleportation. They think it's a mortal sin. They think that it's impossible to teleport the soul, and they've dedicated their lives to speaking out against teleportation and proving that it is the devil's work, basically. A religious extremist from this group decides to set off an explosion at the time that Joel is attempting to teleport. And what results is two Joels, one that makes it to Costa Rica and one that doesn't. Joel is the narrator of our story, and this book is written as if Joel is writing to people in the future. He's prone to saying things like, I don't know how it is in your time, but back when I was alive, we could do X, Y, and Z, or we had to do X, Y, and Z in order to reach a certain goal. So he's writing it like it's a historical account, when in reality it's very advanced into the future for the actual reader. If you ask me, that's one of the things that worked so well for this book. I think that Tal Klein did an amazing job at really presenting, explaining, and carrying the reader along through technology that is extremely advanced and extremely complicated. And there's big words thrown at you, and there's different types of sciences and scientists, and because the narrator already recognizes that he's not speaking to anyone who lived it, a lot of allowances are made for explanations into this technological age. This book is also complete with footnotes through probably the first half. They're not necessary to the story. They're not something that you have to read. However, they are helpful, and they do delve into some of the scientific explanation a little bit further. Even making this stuff up, like, I'm impressed. I am wildly impressed by this author and by this book, because these are things that, thrown at me in a textbook or in a lecture, they would go so far over my head it's not even funny. However, Tal Klein manages to present each of these things in a way that makes them perfectly easy to understand. And at the same time, his narrator is hilarious. Joel is such a smartass and funny, and that also helped me connect to the book, because I feel like the narrator is someone who could have been plucked from my generation. Kind of that skepticism and that sarcasm that just plagues my generation. So it was really a very likable narrator. His wife Sylvia plays a pretty secondary role. Most of the book is about the New York City Joel, the one who didn't get teleported or doesn't think he got teleported or whatever. It's complicated. Much of the book is about New York City Joel trying to get to Sylvia. We don't spend a lot of time with Sylvia. We do in some flashbacks, and we do more towards the end. She's probably not going to be the most likable character in the book, but she's not hated either, if that makes sense. She does some things that are sort of questionable, and she does some things that maybe the reader might not agree with, as our narrator doesn't. But for the most part, Joel's affection for Sylvia is what makes the reader care about her as well. There are a few other characters in the book, because this does turn into a corporate deception meets 22nd century politics, which is weird. So we do have good guys, bad guys, crazy guys. There are mad scientists, of course, and everybody is really well developed, and everybody has kind of a unique voice, and everybody just sort of, all the characters jump off the page at you. They're really well developed, and the world is really well developed. And for someone who doesn't read a ton of science fiction, if they were all like this, I probably would, to be perfectly honest with you. As far as world building goes, the settings and locations in this book are not unlike the locations that we have in today's world. You've got New York City, and you've got Costa Rica, and some mentions of vacations elsewhere, like San Francisco and stuff like that. So it's not that the author's necessarily building any faraway worlds or anything that's unknown to you or I, but what he's done is created an entirely different set of circumstances for those locations that we're familiar with. For instance, in this book, it rains all of the time, and the reason it rains is because the air quality for people in 2147 is completely dependent upon mosquitoes, and the rain is actually the mosquitoes' process for purifying the air, and it's basically mosquito pee. And that's a common reoccurring joke throughout the book, is that, Joel's always talking about how he's standing in mosquito pee, or he's getting hit with mosquito pee. And it's really funny. Like I mentioned before, everything has an app. Cars drive themselves. You just get in and go for a ride. Chairs will, you can interact with your chair and mold it to your body no matter what position you want to sit in. Obviously, there's teleportation. The government in this world is run strictly by corporations. There's no more quote unquote politicians. So I'd say that the world building is pretty much as intense as it would be if the actual locations were fabricated. There's a different monetary system and a different economy. There are different jobs, there are different lifestyles. I mean, it's all really well developed, and it's easy to move along through this story even though this reality is not our own. I would also say that the book comes with a fair amount of intrigue and suspense. You're not really sure how it's going to play out, and you can imagine several different scenarios of how this book may end. So you're basically left until the end to figure out exactly how this big old mess is going to be resolved. There aren't very many twists or things that take you by surprise. I can think of one or two that will maybe catch the reader off guard. But this isn't the kind of novel that's going to smack you over the face. If it's going to smack you over the face, it's going to be because of the crazy science and the impressive thought that went into writing this book. Tal Klein does admit that the book has taken over a decade to write. He also enlisted the help of a quantum physicist in order to get some of the science right. I mean, this, while I'm uncomfortable with saying that this is the best science fiction in the world because I don't read a ton of it, I will say I can't imagine that all science fiction is this good. I can't imagine it, or I would be more of a science fiction fan. This one took me on a journey that I was very happy to be on, and was laughing from the first page of the book. And I knew then that no matter what genre it was, I was going to keep reading it. There's a small intro where the narrator basically says, you know, if you're reading this, then I'm dead, and you know, you're officially in charge of figuring out what the hell's going on. But when it jumps to the actual first chapter, the first line is teleportation killed the Mona Lisa, and launches into a story about how once teleportation was discovered, they first started transporting objects, and the Mona Lisa was getting transported because of moving from exhibition to exhibition, and there was an accident and they lost the Mona Lisa, and that accident was what led to the Punch Escrow, this systematic teleportation safeguard that allowed teleportation to continue. What at the time was a significant goof on the part of those responsible for teleportation, a significant oversight. I admittedly had never heard of Tal Klein before I received this arc, but I've been looking some things up. He is a very interesting individual. He has his hands in music, from what I can tell, quite a bit of music. And there was a post on his Facebook page that mentioned the Punch Escrow being adapted. I don't know if it was for film or for television now that I think about it, but that there was somebody already signed up to write the adaptation. So, I mean, he's a really cool guy. I will leave a link down below to his daughter interviewing him, his small daughter interviewing him about the Punch Escrow. It's absolutely an adorable video, and you should check it out. Again, this book releases on July 25th. I highly, highly recommend this book. Even if you're not into science fiction, it's so enjoyable though. It's so awesome. The Punch Escrow will have you rooting for its plucky, sarcastic hero as he bounces between religious fanatics, secret agents, corporate hacks, and megalomaniacs in a quest to get his life back. And that pretty much sums it up. So definitely keep this book in mind. Again, it publishes on July 25th, and I will leave a link down below for Amazon pre-order, which will automatically turn into an Amazon purchase link once July 25th is upon us. If you have any questions about the Punch Escrow, let me know down in the comments below, and I will try to answer those for you. And if it's past publication date and you read this, then please let me know what you think about it. I would love to hear your thoughts, especially since I was so pleasantly surprised by the book. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you very soon.